But I'll go ahead and call our April 21st, 2021 meeting to order. Per the agenda, our first action item will be the approval of the minutes from April 7th. You all should have received those in an email just the other day from Christy. So I'll give everyone a moment to review those and then entertain a motion to either adopt or amend as necessary.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Garden. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Preston. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Thank you very much. Second item, we'll quickly move through. The only invoices we received was from Mr. Witt, so I trust everyone had a chance to review those. Do I have a motion to approve Mr. Witt's invoice as presented?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Garden. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Preston as well. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. That would then bring us to what I have listed here as the subcommittee assignments, but it's simply a list that I formulated based on Mr. Witt's outline, and I tried in the list to include as much background, or at least a short background of any previous discussions that particular topic had warranted. So I don't know that we need formal approval of this list, but I would like for the entire committee to talk about anything that needs to be changed, any specific items in that task list, if you will. Really all we're doing here is just setting the agenda for some of the subcommittees, finance in particular, but then there's also some items there that were parsed out to be taken up at a later meeting by maybe this full committee. So do we have any comments or discussions about that recommended items for review list? Any objection? Okay.
Jonathan, was it necessary to implement any new committees? I know you mentioned that in the minutes. Was it necessary?
Well, and that's, I think, that's something we can certainly talk about. The Finance Subcommittee, my only reservation about the list that was put out was there is a fairly heavy load on the Finance Subcommittee. Some of those items, just as I look through it now, are items the Finance Subcommittee has already discussed, so presumably could pick back up on that very quickly. If we have any ideas as to how to reduce the workload for the Finance Subcommittee, or as Ms. Preston pointed out, if there's a need, a feeling from the group to create another subcommittee that would perhaps be more specialized to deal with some of these issues, I think we can certainly entertain that. So it's an open-ended question, Ms. Preston, I believe.
Okay.
But any other discussion? If not, we will use this list to go forward. The various subcommittee chairmen can just know that these are the items that have been prioritized and identified for right now that we need to be working through, and then hopefully report back to this larger body as needed. And again, the items there that were tasked to this committee, I would expect those to be upcoming agenda items in the coming weeks. So that's sort of the framework that looks like we've built. Any other comments or discussion there?
But Jonathan, I would just say that the main purpose for this is to get everyone to the table as quickly as is appropriate. And put something down, start talking and start writing and start planning on how you're going to do this. I think that's what this list represents.
And I think everyone here has a copy of it. If not, I will double check after the meeting. Anyone attending here that does not have that prioritization list there, we'll make sure we get it out to you. Please reach out and let me know if any of this doesn't ring a bell for you. Let the group know. We'll make sure you get a copy of that.
Love to have one.
Okay. You do or do not? I'm sorry, Mr.
I would love to have one.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll refresh this then. I know it was circulated at some point, but if your inbox is anything like mine, it's buried. So we'll make sure it gets recirculated. With that then, we do have, and I apologize for this, it was not added to the agenda initially, but we do have some announcements to make by way of the community poll that was taken for the high school and middle school name. And I will hand everything off then to Mr. Garton and make that announcement.
Very simply, the top 3 vote getters were Mountain Ridge, Riverview, and Mountain Valley. With the 4th being, what was it, Jackson River? For the top 3, as we said.
Top 3. We were going to do top 3, and that was Mountain Ridge, Riverview, Mountain Valley, and when the final round poll goes out, we were going to do it as select 1, so that we can narrow it down to, out of those top 3, from the 833 responses we received, which is amazing, which will become the final name.
We counted the write-ins, and those were the top 3.
I had an extensive process last Friday. I really loved doing that on my Friday afternoon, but it's all for the good of the Highlands.
So,
Can I note that the manager was 45 minutes late to our meeting?
we can have that moved into the minutes. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The manager was held up with other city official business that required immediate tending to.
Right. But the bottom line is we have made progress. The community poll, I think, as Crystal pointed out, I think we did have some good participation there. There were a lot of write-in suggestions. There were a few of the write-in suggestions that gained some traction. Ultimately, though, there was a fairly high bar as far as numbers of those written in that they had to meet. So none of the write-ins met that criteria, but there was a lot of participation, and I think it was a really good first step in building a little bit of enthusiasm for the division. So any delays aside, I think it was a good process, and glad that we're moving forward with it. So any questions or comments then about the tabulation of the first round and the targets for round 2?
And we will do a PSA for the upcoming vote. And
Yep, working on it now.
okay.
And doing the survey now, and this will be a lot easier. No Jackson listed twice or whatever. It's 3 names. I got this.
Vote for 1. This is open.
Very good. Well, thank you, Matt and Crystal, both for your help on that, and also thanks to the athletic subcommittee for the work that they put in for bringing this into fruition. Really appreciate all their stuff. With that, Mr. Witt had, I think, planned to be on vacation today, so that's why his comments and things were not, I hadn't included those on the agenda, but he has made time for us today. So with that, I will turn things over to Mr. Witt for any comments he has for us going forward.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. And I'm just looking down the list that you have before you, and I was looking at the salary benefit equalization. That probably needs to be done by 22-23 when you start the new school system. So some of these can be subcommittees under the committee. Now, the whole committee doesn't have to do this if the subcommittee can report back. And in this instance, the subcommittee basically is going to be the 2 superintendents and 2 finance people to sit down and look at these salary schedules and see where they're different, see where you compare them up, and how much money that represents. That's one first thing we need to do. Then, after you look at that, if 22, 23, if you want to you know, if you're gonna give a 2% or whatever raise, you have to look at that as well for all employees. But I believe the equalization needs to be done for the 22-23 school year, just because you're gonna have all employees under the same school board. So I want to make that comment. And you could, the chairman of the committee could say, you know, would you guys go over here and work on this and bring it back to us, so that the full committee doesn't have to do that for those things. So does anyone have any questions or comments about salary benefit equalization? Benefits, the same thing. You're going to have to make the benefits across the board in terms of health care and whatever else benefits you have now. Going to merge those two, but that's it. They have to be merged, and you take the hybrid of what the new school board and what this committee recommends. And talking to Jonathan, I think what this committee recommends is going to carry a lot of weight and is quasi-legal, and you're going to have, perhaps some of you are going to be on the new school board, so your recommendations are going to be very important, and they're going to carry a lot of weight. And so just keep that in mind as you're making decisions and you're going forward, especially in terms of salary and benefits and the things that people worry the most about, and in terms of your employees. And that goes for the no harm policy again. I don't know how you can equalize everything and somebody not be affected. Okay, that's almost impossible to do in some way. So you apply the greater good for what you're trying to accomplish, and some folks are, you know, may make it out better than some other folks, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I think just kind of the same way as, you know, you're getting ready to retire and they move the age from 65 to 66, they move to 66, 67, and you got to work another year, another 2 years, whatever, get your full Social Security benefits. Kind of like that. You're making the decision for everybody, so you just got to go ahead and do the one for the whole school system that you think is right. And so the no harm policy, you certainly not going, you don't harm anybody, but again, the one that is the most complicated, of course, is the retirement benefit for Covington versus whatever the new school system is going to be. And in that respect, you need to be working on a new early retirement incentive plan, an ERIC, whatever you want to call it. And that should be ready to go in 22-23, because that's when the new school board starts. And again, you need to blend the two that you have, and I'm not clear on Alleghenies, and maybe not all clear on Covington, but you got to sit down at the table with those two and figure out how you're going to make that work for the new school system and be fair to everybody coming from the old school system. And again, I think the two superintendents and the finance people need to sit down and look at that with probably the chairman of the school board or somebody from the school board to iron that out and see what is fair and equitable, and certainly the recommendations of the superintendents and the finance people would be very important. And let's see what they have to say, and then take a look at it. But ultimately, it's a policy decision, so it's a board decision, and you all have to, as a board, filter out all the little fine points and then come up with a recommendation. So it's really, again, sitting down and looking at both sides and then coming up with some recommendations. And the committee can report back to the full board on that. Of course, the other big one, for Crystal and John, is the relationship between the county and the city in terms of the school budget for the new school system, which again starts in 22-23. And again, you can come to the table and just start talking about it, writing down what it's important to you, what things you want to see in that contract, how we're going to resolve any differences, etc. And then it's just a MOU, basically, memorandum of understanding what the relationship's going to be and how we're going to go forward. And I don't think it has to be complicated, and the models that you have are, you can certainly go off those and come up with how the relationship between Covington and Allegheny will be in terms of the budget. So, again, that discussion needs to probably start this summer or late spring, whenever you finish up this year, get all this year behind you, so you don't have to worry about that, and then start your new discussions on how you're going to go forward.
Mr. Witt?
Yes.
This is John Lanford. We do have a draft in place. One question, you should, signatories to that agreement, should the new school board be a signatory to that agreement? So it would be a three-party agreement on the funding, in lieu of just the city and the county being signatories, in case we wanted to add responsibilities to the new school board related to reporting or meeting with representatives of the governing bodies.
I think initially you would want all four signatories initially, and then after following that, you would turn that over to the one school board, and that school board would then be the negotiating body for the budget body for the two governing bodies. So, that's because you've done four signatories all the way through this. That agreement would be more stable with four signatories, and I hope that's not an issue to have that done. But short of that, the new school board certainly could be the signatory for that agreement. Of course, once the county and the city agree to it, I don't see any issues with the two school boards. But John, I don't know, is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah, that was helpful. We hadn't crossed the. We were hadn't thought about adding the two existing school boards as signatories that then would just become the new school board once it's formed. We were trying to think about how to time the funding agreement with the new school board being a party to the agreement, but that's a good suggestion and something we can bounce around.
Yeah, I think either way you go, you're going to be okay on that, and the new school board would have to approve that the first day of July, or the first week of July, the 22, 23. A lot of things will have to be approved during that first school board meeting for the new board, and to get everything in place. But up to that point, this joint committee should look at that and make a recommendation for this county-city government relationship to pass on to the new board. And that then gives it more weight and more substantial to move forward. Then you can turn it over to the new school board and let them pass it, and you all pass and approve everything and go forward from there. That's my. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference on that, but you just want everybody. You want everybody buying in. That's the big, and everybody's approved. So, does that help any, Jonathan? Okay, thank you. And that's certainly a big issue to be settled. And all right, does anyone have any other questions or comments about what Jonathan has passed out today, given everyone on the agenda? So, at this point, there's nothing more much to say until we get some stuff down on paper and bring it to the table and talk about how we're going to do things. Which you all have done a lot of that, and you may be more ready than I am, certainly, and I think you are. The Munis RDA needs to be settled, and that certainly is ASAP after this budget year is through again. Let everybody get past that, and then that needs to come to the table. Whoever who you think needs to be in that discussion, bring it to the table, and we need to get that settled sometime this summer. And then while you're having that discussion, you need to start talking about how you're going to do it, who's going to do it, what's it going to take to get it done. Those things have to be talked about early, so you get draw your picture for an end game in this financial merger, and which he'll do, and it'll get done. But you got to start somewhere, and it's going to be a pretty good chore, as we said earlier. So. Jonathan, I don't have anything beyond that from what we talked about. I didn't do a lot of homework for this meeting because I was out of town, but I think we're on the right track, and we just got to get people to the table now and start writing and talking.
Well, thank you, Mr. Witt, and I will just to kind of piggyback on some of your comments there. I mean, I have envisioned, and I think some of the other folks on the committee that I've talked to just about this in general, I think there's going to be a series of things ratified by the new school board that will come on recommendations brought from this committee. The new school board will have the opportunity to adjust that if they so choose. But I think as a school board member myself, and trying to envision setting in a brand new seat there in a new division, the division will have to put a lot of these things in place based on our recommendations. So it's important that both some good hard looks at these issues go, be taken by this committee. So I think a lot of the issues that you've outlined here will be adopted by the new school board in much that same way. Doesn't mean they can't make any adjustments. Yes, sir. I was about to say, Mr. Aaron. I'm sorry, Mr.
I know, I'm not here today, right? Be a little bit shorter here. I have to sign off. I've got a 1:30 coming. I've got a vendor coming, and then some budget stuff. But I sent you and Matt a draft copy of that press release and the survey link, so check it out. And let me know. We'll have Thomas do all his amazing work where he does and blasts out to the community.
Okay. Thank you very much, Christopher.
I apologize, y'all. Everybody have a great day.
All right. So,
And for the record, I was on time to this meeting.
You were.
So Jonathan, in terms of the fiscal agent, again, it's Allegany is the larger of the two operating systems, the largest number of employees, etc. They may be in a more able to handle that than Skeptic City. I don't think it makes any difference, except you got to pick one and set that up. As far as the school board office, I don't know if the current Allegany school board office is large enough to bring in the Covington school board people, whether there's any place close by, whether you need to go to another building, but those things need to be kind of hashed out before next July, if you can do that. I mean, there's nothing that says that you can't operate anywhere you want to. You can operate out of the basement if you want to, but you got to decide that's what you're going to do, and where you want your school board office to be, and folks working together. So that needs to be addressed as you go forward. And that's pretty much my comments for today.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Witt. Yes, sir, Mr. Griffith.
This is for John. We got this draft today on the school funding agreement. I was going to make sure he can get it out to everybody. like I said, it's a draft, and we can go with it from there.
Here, John.
Would you include me in that, Jonathan?
Yes, sir. I turned my video, not my microphone on, so y'all probably would prefer if I was going to say you probably would have preferred if I turned my microphone on and not my video, but you may have liked it better when both were off. Yes, I'll email that out to the group later this afternoon.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Well, appreciate your comments, Mr. Witt. I will open this up for everyone's comments or discussion in just a moment. I would like to, before we get to that point, talk about our next meeting date. We would be tracking for a May the 5th meeting date. Do we think we want to stick with every 2 weeks at this point? Is there any need to adjust that? All right.
That's good.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll tentatively plan for May 5th. That's what we agreed to, basically every 2 weeks in our meeting 2 weeks ago. I did also want to kind of update us. I think all three of the 4 bodies, have passed the thank you resolution that Mr. Lanford spoke about last week. I know Covington City School Board has done that. County School Board, I believe, passed that just recently. Yeah. And of course, Allegheny County has, I think, the only one that we're waiting for until that's submitted as planned within Mid-City and Covington. So we'll hopefully make sure that that's on a future agenda. That's the only little bits of commentary that I had. So any other comments or discussions before we adjourn?
Yeah, Jonathan, if there's anybody who wants a third party on any of the meeting discussions, I'm available, okay? I will come to Covington. I'll meet with superintendents, finance people, whatever, just to be a sounding board or whatever. If you think that's appropriate, I will do that. And I told you early on, I certainly would come to Covington and as many times as necessary. So I am available for that, or certainly a phone call, whatever, if any way I can help, okay?
Okay. And I think just from a subcommittee standpoint, we have invited all of the executives to all of the subcommittee meetings as well, standing invitation, knowing that our superintendents, our county administrator and city manager would not possibly be able to make them all, but a standing invitation. I think the same could be extended to you, especially for, as we work through some of these issues you've outlined. So
Very good.
I think we can set it up that way where you'll be invited, and we'll be happy to see if you're able to make some of those. Sure.
Very good. That's all. Okay, thanks.
Well, any other comments or discussion? Well, without any of that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Griffith. So again, we'll look to see everyone again on May 5th. And as always, let the group know if you have any questions or anything you feel needs to be discussed. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Okay.